1, go. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's school board meeting, Fort Wayne Community Schools School Board meeting, Board of Trustees. We start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Good evening, Julie Hollingsworth, District 1.
Jennifer Mathias, District 2.
I'm Ann Duff, member at large.
Raleigh Booker, District 4.
Noah Smith, District 3.
And I'm Maria Norman, member at large. And to my left, we have Superintendent Dr. Mark Daniel and Clerk of the Board, Angela Filler. And you're going to have to forgive me, but my computer is being slow. What do we got up first?
An award.
An award. Thank you. All right. It is recommended that the board approve. Nope, not it. Sorry. We'll get it. Okay. It is recommended that the board recognize students from Northrop and Snyder High Schools for participating in the 10th annual Northeast Indiana Tech Fest. Tech Fest is a community event for high school students sponsored in a cooperative effort by the Northeastern Indiana Technology Coalition, local industry partners, and the city of Fort Wayne. The goal of Tech Fest is to promote science, technology, engineering, and mathematics curriculum, or STEM, to demonstrate their place in local organizations and their respective fields. Please come forward as your name is read so we may congratulate you. First, from Northrop, Mysteries of Science, first place, Alexandra Bieber. I hope I got that right. I apologize in advance if I butcher your names. Olivia Boner. Tammy Din. Olivia Strom. In the hardware challenge, who also got first place, we have Xavier Baker, Corbin Roost, Spencer Simon. In mathematical madness, second place, Micah Gilman and Connor Rumbold. Then in engineering in a box, third place, we have Sophia Bonner, Jordan De Jesus, Tyler Knuth, and Ben Marquise. And those are our students from Northrop High School. Oh, and we have Valerie Berger, teacher, and Adam Swinford, principal. Congratulations, students. Do we need to do 2 rows? Okay.
Any parents?
Parents need pictures?
You already have it? Awesome. Okay, you go up this way.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Sorry to anyone butchered your names. I'm sorry. I apologize. All right. Our Snyder High School students in third place, programming, we have Lincoln Ferks, Damon Knowles, Timothy Schwantz, Hayden Yokheim. Then in third place with Cyber Hunt, we have Ballin Bristol, Sawyer Titman, Jaimeen Urbina, Ryan Wiebel. Then science, second place, Oluwe Darisimi. Hope I got that somewhat close. Nadia Panague. Sydney Singh. Cybersecurity, second place, we have Caden Haig, Braden Lamb, David Nichols, Mark Schulenberg. Then we have Hardware Challenge, second place, Pau Lack, Ian Rodinger. In first place, Think or Sink, Grace Buchanan, Peyton Kempton, Iris Ning, Violet Park. First place in engineering, we have Tristan Bedwell, Ian Deers, Connor Prohaska, Jake Tipman. First place in math, we have Jaden Badenya, Jackson Kintz, Cody Schrodiger, and Eli Suttonfog. And then we have Joseph Wilheim, teacher, John Tudor, teacher, Perry Herzog, teacher, and Chad Hissong, principal.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
We're going to do 2 rows.
We do 2 rows.
Dad, get in there.
Parents good? Let's come this way.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I like your NASA shirt.
Is this the thing that they have at Indiana Tech?
Congratulations.
Is it a spectator sport? Is it a spectator thing? I don't know about it next year. Think about it. I'd like to see. I'd like to watch.
Congratulations. Yeah. Welcome. All right, that ends our awards and recognition. We move on now to the consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes for a regular meeting on December 12th and organizational meeting of January 9th. Then we have payroll and vouchers for the periods ending, let's see, we have 2 of those as well. Ending December 27th through January 9th and January 23rd, and payroll for the periods ending December 2nd and December 16th. Then we have the personnel report and transfer appropriations. Do we have a motion?
I'd move approval of the items listed under the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Dr. Daniel, did you have any anything to share regarding the personnel report?
I do not
Okay.
for this evening. Thank you.
I do, Madam President, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
Absolutely.
I'm especially excited to approve Tessa Borton, Reagan Pierce, and Abby Shin, 3 girls I personally know, and Sydney Singh, who we just honored and recognized, and I'll get it messed up too, but I've heard it before, Almadusi Adusan, for student interns from Snyder. So kids out there at Wayne Northside, Northrop, and Southside, there's an opportunity for you to come work alongside our students, faculty, and staff at Fort Wayne Community Schools, and we'd love to have you. So
Nice.
love to see that.
Thanks, Noah. All right, we have no old business, so we move to new business. Steve, can you do A?
Sure.
Thank
you. It is recommended that the board approve an international Snyder High School field trip to Costa Rica during the summer of 2024. where students will have daily learning opportunities. The background information during this trip: students will be immersed in the Spanish language and practicing the skills they have learned in school. Some of the activities planned include a visit to a volcano, hopefully inactive, hot springs to learn about the history of its activity and how it affects the towns surrounding it, visit a wildlife rescue center to learn about Costa Rica's commitment to the environment and its leadership in renewable energy sources, visit a touristic port to learn about how tourism is the main source of income for many countries, and finally, visit Manuel Antonio National Park to learn about biodiversity and how different animals and plants live and survive. Sylvia Pereira, Snyder High School Spanish teacher, and Chad Hissong, the principal there, are here to answer any questions about this trip.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have a motion on the floor?
I move approval.
Second.
Thanks, Raleigh. Thanks, Ann. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. How long is the trip, and I assume you're using a company. What company are you using?
Yes. The trip is going to be for 7 days, and we are using Explorica, which is now part of World Strides.
And how many, have you recruited students, or how many do you anticipate?
There's some interest shown. I have quite a few parents and students who are very interested in going. I'm aiming for 15 to 20 students.
Awesome. Good luck.
How many
What's
adults?
the, go ahead.
Sorry.
How many adults? I mean, chaperones that come with their kids are welcome.
The more the merrier.
And what's the cost involved, and will there be some fundraising activities to help offset that?
Yes, so right now the cost is about $2,500, $2,600, and it's going on payments of $160 a month, and we are running fundraisers starting in February with different companies to do different sales. I am trying to explore what options we can do during the summer to have the kids not only build community as a group that they're going to be traveling together, but also raise funds and get everyone interested.
Any other questions?
My daughter chose haircut in German instead of Spanish, much to my chagrin. But how long have you been at Snyder?
This is my first year at Snyder.
Okay. Chad, have we done programs like this in the past, pre-COVID, I take it, or hope, or?
We have not traveled out of the country since I've been a Snyder.
Okay.
Oh. Mr. Smith, we have not traveled out of the country since I've been at Snyder.
Thank you. Something you hope to do more of in the future?
Yes, with all 3 to 4 of our foreign languages.
Is it?
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
If you need extra adults, there's 7 up here that might be interested.
Is it okay to go back to transfer appropriation? Is that, okay, just check. All right. It's recommended that the board authorize any transfers necessary at the end of 2022. Oh, is it
Oh, is it?
good? Okay, I just did, okay,
Separately.
thank you. Okay. No, you're fine. Thank you for checking. All right, so then we have B. Julie, can you do that?
Certainly.
Thank you.
It's recommended that the board approve a Southside High School trip to Paris, France during the spring break of 2024. Well, students will have daily learning and language immersion opportunities. The trip will provide world language students an in-depth experience of a French-speaking culture. Students will navigate real-world situations such as ordering food, asking for directions, being organized and ready for travel, interacting with people and cultures that are different from their own. Students will visit the Musée d'Orsay, Claude Monet's gardens, a medieval castle, and participate in a painting class. Taylor Buzzard, Southside French teacher, and Zachary Harrell, Southside principal, are available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor?
I move for approval.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Ann. Any questions?
Same questions we just had would be good.
What was the first question? Sorry.
How long? How long?
Oh, how long? We'll be there for 8 days in Paris.
And yours is spring break, correct?
Spring break, because I don't know if you know what's happening summer 2024 in France is the Olympics. So I didn't want to take part in that travel chaos. So, yeah.
And cost and how many?
The cost is a little bit more than like a Costa Rica trip since it's a little bit further. It's $4,000. And the company I use is EF Tours. I've used them for the past 4 student trips I've taken with students at Southside. Yeah.
So have all 4 of your trips been to Paris, France, or have you?
I've alternated between France and then Canada. And so Canada, we go Montreal and Quebec City.
How many students do you expect to take with you?
About 15.
And you need chaperones on this one as well.
If anybody wants to join, for sure.
Weren't you French majoring?
And I used EF as well on when I took tours, and we did Paris. I think the Paris one twice, because oh my God, this is so great. There's more I want to see.
Yeah.
So I go back the second time, it's like the kids want to see the same stuff. So it's kind of a repeat, but it was still fun because like it said in here, you know, you talk with the people in French and just riding the subway or Maypole was exciting enough just with the different people and interactions and things. So
Yeah.
it'll be a wonderful trip.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Jennifer, did you want to do C?
It is recommended that the Board of School Trustees conduct a Board of Finance meeting and that the officers of the Board of School Trustees also serve as officers of the Fort Wayne Community School Board of Finance according to the board's bylaws. It is also recommended that the 2022 investment report and the district's financial condition are reviewed. State law requires that the Board of Finance meeting be conducted in January of each year. For FWCS bylaw 0151.1, the Board of Finance officers are the same as the school board. The law requires that they receive and review an annual investment report and the district's investment policy. In addition, per IC 5137-8, the superintendent of the school corporation must annually submit a written report to the School Board of Finance to allow the Board of Finance to assess the financial condition of the school corporation. Metrics used to assess the financial condition are determined by IC 2019-7-4. Following are the metrics of the report by the Distressed Unit Appeal Board. Average daily membership, or also known as ADM, fund balances, annual deficit surplus, fund balances as percent of expenditures, revenue by type, operating referendum revenue as percent of total revenue. DUAB provides a web page interface for interested parties to review and assess the financial conditions of the school corporation based upon the previously listed financial or fiscal indicators. The school corporation fiscal indicators webpage can be accessed at, and I'm sure it'll be up there somewhere, but www.in.gov, DUAB, it'll be up here. The following pages provide a written report of Fort Wayne Community Schools financial condition. Kathy Friend, Chief Financial Officer, will make the presentation. Thank you, Kathy.
You have in your board recommendation a copy of the investment policy as well as what the current interest that was earned in 2022. So that's not part of this presentation, but that document is within your board rec. So the presentation is a legal requirement that the state has each year, and the indicators that I've highlighted there, the DUAB committee figures out what those qualitative factors are, and they use those to figure out if a school district is financially viable. And the last code there is the code that requires us to submit a report during this meeting. These are the fiscal indicators that are in the website that Jennifer was mentioning. All of these things are the things I will go over this evening. The first one is average daily membership, or ADM as it's called, and this is the amount of dollars that we are funded on. This is not our enrollment. It is today, but in the past, It was the dollars that we were funded on, because we were not always funded completely for kindergarten. So when you notice this chart, we were funded for 28,343 students back in 14-15. Today we're funded for 27,562 students. So we have had a decline in enrollment, but there's also been a change in the method. And so that's why I put this chart together, so you could see the blue line represents what our enrollment would have been, and the orange line represented the ADM. Those two lines merged in 15-16, and they both have the same meaning since then. The difference is that, as I said, kindergarten was not counted in those earlier years, and it is today counted, it was counted at half in those previous years, now counted in full. So what this chart tells you is, if you just consider enrollment itself, without preschool involved, there's no preschool numbers in here, we have lost about 2,400 students since 11-12. And as you all know, that was the year that the voucher program started. So I'm sure that's no coincidence. Next, I'm going to go into fund balances, and I'm going to focus on the most significant funds, and that's the former general and operational funds compared to the education fund and operations fund. I did not include in this grants, construction debt, lunch, textbook rental, because those items are, they could vary depending on the time. So I don't think it's a good apples to apples comparison when you look year to year. So here is a look at our fund balance history of these major funds, and you'll notice that the green turned to orange, and that's because that's the year that the general fund went away and the education fund took its place. So they're somewhat similar, but not exact. The funds today, because there are things funded out of the formally funded out of the general fund that are now funded out of the operations fund. So if you're best to just focus on 2019 going forward. So the board does have a policy, and I wanted to mention this, that we have a desired fund balance in these two funds of 8 to 15% of budget, which provides about 2 months of payroll. I think you'll find in the next chart that I show you that's probably not a sufficient cash balance. We are currently, when you do the math this way, what I'm comparing is the 22 budget to the 12/31/21 cash balance. We had a 31% balance in the education fund and a 29.3% in the operations fund. I think it's critically important that the board remember that it's super necessary to have a fund balance. There are lots of things that can happen, and one thing that stands out to me at the moment is interest rates. So this year, we had total interest of about $4 million, if I'm remembering the right number there.
3.4530.
Yeah, $3.4 million. Yeah, and so the year before that, it was only $860,000. Several years before that, we were in the $3 million zone again too. So that is an area where, the economic situation could reduce our revenue beyond our control. So it's important that we have a cash balance to absorb those kind of hits. And in addition to that, in case we would want to absorb any grant expenditures when those grants expire, that might be a consideration as we look at ESSER enrollment changes. We need to be able to absorb those because that can reduce our revenue when we have fewer students. The uncertainty of the next funding formula that will begin in July of 2023, based on what we've heard so far, it seems that may be positive, but keeping in mind any increase to education doesn't mean it all comes to us. It can go to lots of other places too. So we have to be careful about that. And but as we do, when I look at 5-year cash flow projections, if we did certain things, we could be in that zone of 8 to 15% by 2025, but there are actions that we may decide we want to take so that we don't end up in that space. But we are in good financial position. We have plenty of time to work through these issues. So we'll take it as it comes. We'll have a lot more information in May of this year to decide what decisions we need to make.
Can I ask a question on the policy? How long has that been in play? Do you have any recollection?
Probably 5 years or so, would you say, that policy? It's been around for a while.
And is it
Yeah.
a desired minimum fund balance, or just you want the fund balance to be this amount, or is it?
It's a range, so it really was 8% was the minimum. You could, there are some that could say that 15% maybe it should be your maximum. But I think when we did this policy, times were not as trying as they are today. And I think, there were people that thought a 5% cash balance was pretty darn good. And I think now that we've seen what can happen with the economy and impacts to, our financials, what happens with the state, I don't think that that's a good policy number anymore. I think we should be above that number. So I would say it's a minimum. Even though it's a range, I would say 15% is the minimum.
So with your CFO controller peers, would you say they're similar, higher, less?
Well,
throughout other districts?
The next slide will show you that. So what I did was...
No, not how we are with the policy, I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what? I'm not positive what other people's policies look like. I can just tell you where they are actually. When you
But
look,
your belief and thought is these numbers are probably too low.
I believe so, yes.
Thank you.
So when you look at 19, 20, and 21, I put a little box at the top of each one of those stacks, and it may be hard to read, but in 2019, we were at 30, when you combine education and operations funds, we were at 33.8%. The state average was 29.5%. In 20, we were at 34.3. The state was at 32.1. And in 21, we were at 34.6, and the state average was 35.1. So when you look at the little box at the bottom, you can see that there were only 18 districts that were at 15% or lower. And everybody else was above 15%. In fact, over half of the districts were at a higher percentage than what we were. So 160 of the 290 districts were higher than the 34.6%. So I feel like this puts us in a good position to plan and to absorb any hits that we might see come up in the future.
Is it too simple to say that with 34.6%, we have a third of our budget in cash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The next indicator is the annual deficit or surplus for each fund. So this tells you, and this is a combination of operations fund and education fund, and it shows you how revenue compares to expenditures, and they should be somewhat even. You don't really want to see any of the yellow at the bottom. It shows if you would have a deficit or a surplus. You don't really want to see a deficit very often, although sometimes it makes sense if you're trying to spend down your cash or one-time expenditures. And then the gray bar on there shows the cash balance and which matches what you just saw on the previous slide. The new things that they added to this particular slide are those orange and red lines, and those indicate the transfers that had to be made because of the new system of education fund and operations fund. So 2019 was the first year for that, so that's what that indicates. So if you just focus on the green and the blue bars, that'll show you the comparison of revenue and expenditures for those funds. And then the last area in the discussion is revenue, and this chart shows you all of the different types of revenue. This is for the entire district, all funds. So you can see the top right, see a little sliver there for federal stimulus revenue, so that would be our ESSER money that started to come in at that point. And then the brownish bar is federal revenue, which you can see has stayed fairly stable, maybe grown a little bit. The blue is state revenue. And there was a little blip in the way the state had us measure something, so that's why I made that little box there. It had to do with health insurance. That's why that purple line got kind of strange on us, and the green line. And then the local tax revenue is the one at the bottom. So those are the different forms of revenue. When you look at it this way, you can see the percentage of revenue by type, and the state revenue obviously is the largest portion of the revenue for the district at 55%, local is 21%, federal 19%, and then all other local revenue at 4%. And then I didn't count debt revenue into that 100% because those are dollars raised that we use for capital expenditures.
What's other local revenue again?
That could be like excise tax, the CVET, the commercial vehicle income tax, those kind of things that are in there. So if you get local property tax, those are taxes you get on top of that. So
it's like the personal property tax?
that's the second line, the local tax revenue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the last chart here is, I thought you might want to know of the federal revenue, what's included in that federal revenue. So these are the most significant items, special ed, Title I, and school lunch, and then a variety of other ones, like that could be like the Magnet grant, the Gear Up grant, those kind of things that are included there. And the emergency relief piece would be the ESSER money, is what it was indicated as. So that's why when you look at that, the yellow line there in the, oh, excuse me, I didn't include that in the other category. That yellow line went up because of those new grants that we got with Gear Up and the Magnet grant. So that is all that's required to present to you, but I'm open to any questions that you might have about the...
Are we still facing a 9/30/24 spend or obligate? Is it spend or obligate deadline?
Obligate, yeah.
Okay. So we don't have to have it spent, but at least know where we're going to spend it by a certain date.
We have to have it encumbered, yes.
Is that, there's been no relief given?
Nope.
I mean,
Nope.
if you had a preference, would you like to keep it and use it after that date?
Well, there are some things, and Darren's in the audience, and he might want to say to you, you know, some of the facilities projects that are funded with ESSER, you know, we've had trouble, you know, getting some things.
Right.
And so it would sure be reassuring to know that there might be a little extra time to take care of some of those things.
Does the state have to take the lead in that extension request?
You know, we have talked to people at the state. They're not working on that right now. I mean, I know I saw some guidelines that the federal government put out that might be a thing. We contacted the state and they said that was not something that they were doing. So I don't know if that, you know, I think there's still time for that decision to happen, but at the moment, there is no process for that.
You'd like to see it happen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So with the federal government hitting the debt ceiling, talk of potential showdown in Congress, we could have $76 million as of 2021 at risk of payment and such, annualized. That's how much we got in 21, I guess is what I'm saying, right?
In federal?
Yes.
Federal funds? Well, I guess it depends. I mean, if they shut the government down, and that has happened before, where we were not able to access our reimbursements, so we will be spending money on, you know, teacher salaries that get paid out of Title I, or, you know, assistant salaries, and then we seek reimbursement
Food for kids,
often.
lunch and breakfast and those kind
Well,
of things.
I suppose. Now, that'd be interesting. The lunch program, yeah.
There's a good reason to have a saving, or
Because,
cash balance.
you know, at some point, we have cash in the bank that we can help offset and keep some things going for a while and let those funds go into the negative until the reimbursement comes through. So let's just pray that that doesn't become a thing. Obviously, we'd have the whole country be concerned about that issue. So, yeah.
So with the $16,843,000 roughly in 21, and let's just, for discussion's sake, say 80% of that's ESSER dollars? In the other bucket?
Are you, on this
Yeah,
slide, is
this
that what
chart,
you're, no, the whole, the $22 million.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How much do we project to be in 22, 23, and then 24, Steve said, roughly? Any idea?
For ESSER?
Yeah.
Well, our total is like $156 million. So I apologize, I don't have the number for 22 because we've already obviously got 22 money also. So yeah,
It's going to go up, I guess is the point. too,
Yeah,
right?
it's going to go up.
Okay.
Yeah, because since we've only, of the 156, we might have spent some of it in 2020, but the bulk of it would have started to been spent in 21.
Okay.
Are there any action items to take?
Nope.
Do we have to record minutes separately for this, or are they incorporated as a part of our
Yeah.
meeting?
Yep.
All together? Okay.
Yep.
Thank God.
Any other questions? All right. All those, and I'm taking it, nope, okay.
Thank you.
Do we
Thank
close
you,
the
Kathy.
meeting? Close that part of the
Closing
meeting?
that part of the meeting, okay. Awesome. All right, so we are now moving to agenda item D. Ann, could you do that, please?
Yes. It is recommended that the board approve the acceptance of the Carl D. Perkins Assessment Grant for the 22-23 year in the amount of $14,600 for the Career Academy from Indiana Department of Education and Governor's Workforce Cabinet, or the INDY grant. The funds in this year's assessment grant are designated to provide funding to secondary level Perkins eligible recipients to support state-approved industry-recognized licensing or certification examinations or assessments leading to a recognized post-secondary credential. This is a non-competitive grant which supports services for career and technical education students. The original Carl D. Perkins Continuation Grant is written by Jesse Webb, Director of Career and Technical Education Area 14, along with Sandra Adams, Assistant Director of the CTE Area 14. FWCS is a fiscal agent for these funds, and there is no requirement to match the grant with local funds. Jesse Webb, the principal of the Career Academy, will be available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ann. All those, oh, no, yep. Motion? Sorry.
So motion.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Second.
Thank you, Julie. Any questions for Jesse?
How much are you going for, Jesse? Oh, I'm sorry, 14.6. What can you do with $14,600?
That pays for about a third of the assessment grants that we provide for students.
How many assessments do you give students, and how many students become certified in something?
I would say about 80 to 90%, kind of in that range, become certified of our students that test. We give them anywhere, we usually give them up to 2 attempts on their own that we pay for. And then the third one, we ask them to chip in a little bit of money.
So how many students would that be, number of students?
It varies year to year. About 800 to 850 of our students sit for some type of certification.
So then they could go on and have a job with that certification.
Yeah, it's part of industry recognized, state industry recognized certifications are part of Domain 3 of the graduation pathway. So students can check that box for Domain 3.
So this is about a third of the cost of the assessments?
Yeah, last year we spent a little over $40,000 on just assessments.
Where does the other 2/3 come from?
The Perkins Continuation Grant, and this year we're going to utilize some of the Gear Up Grant for those that qualify.
Is this something you have to apply for every year?
Yes, but it's really just kind of given to us based on our performance data.
So Jesse, you may not know this information, but as I watch what's going down at the State House and them reinventing high school and new certifications and other things, it's brought to my attention, maybe Kathy can explain at a later date some more, the effect that would have on the grants that we receive. Kathy and I believe that there could be some possible things that we'll want to watch for as far as certifications and grants that we receive versus what the state is willing to give us to do. So $40,000 is a lot of money times multiple schools giving certifications, and they're thinking that we need to have certifications. So I'm hoping that that money is going to be there for us for quite some time. Not necessarily through a Carl Perkins grant, but if the state's stepping in, then they need to know what they're up against.
Right. I just read in the Governor's Workforce Cabinet bi-weekly that they're looking at how do we increase, some of those funds that are available for assessments in the future. So I think the state is working on that piece.
So then, Kathy, would that mean we would possibly not be able to receive Perkins grants on top of that?
I think the devil's in the details right now. I mean, it's very concerning what they're looking at down there right now with the scholarship dollars that they could take away from us and provide to business organizations. So it makes you wonder, would pieces of this go with as well?
I am wondering. So I would, yes. Thank you, Jesse. I don't want to see that go away. We have 850 students plus that need these.
Yeah.
Wasn't your daughter one of them?
And my daughter is one of them.
Well, sorry, real quick, I'll speak to that if you don't mind, and what the work you do, Jesse, and Jennifer, I talked offline about this, but her daughter's going through the 2-year program and they get this for cosmetology. My daughter chose after high school to go after cosmetology, which I'm proud of both those girls about. But the cost differential for my daughter to get the same licensure that Jennifer's daughter is going to have is astronomically different. Percentage-wise, I mean, it would probably be 100,000%. So this is important work that Jesse and your team do, and an offering that we have.
The cost savings is?
$18,000 or more.
Or more.
So we offer a great program. Cost savings program.
Excellent, yeah. So I wholeheartedly support this and the work you guys do, Jesse, and it was an eye-opener for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Good points, thank you. Any other questions for Jesse on this one? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? No. All right, so that brings us to item E. And that's me. It is recommended that the board approve the acceptance of the Carl D. Perkins Reserve Grant for the 22-23 school year in the amount of $115,000 for the Career Academy from the Indiana Department of Education and the Governor's Workforce Cabinet, also known as the Indy Grant. The funds in this year's reserve grant are designated to provide funding to secondary level Perkins eligible recipients to support the implementation of the next level programs of study. The Career Academy will use the awarded funds to purchase equipment, technologies, materials for the expansion of the HVAC program of study and the implementation of the standalone plumbing and pipe fitting program of study. In addition, these funds will also be used to renovate space in the current construction trades building to create a community partner accessible professional learning space. This is a competitive grant which supports services for the career and technical education students. The original Carl D. Perkins continuation grant is written by Jesse Webb, Director of the Career and Technical Education Area 14, along with Sandra Adams, Assistant Director. FWCS is the fiscal agent for these funds, and there is no requirement to match the grant with local funds. And Jesse is still available to answer our questions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Jesse about this grant?
The notes say that it will expand the HVAC program. Will that increase the number of students who have access to the program or just provide extra equipment?
Yeah, so we're splitting the plumbing and HVAC program into separate standalone programs. So we should increase our enrollment to about 30 more students.
How many are currently enrolled?
In our programming at the Career Academy?
No.
HVAC.
Just in HVAC and plumbing, 28.
So double the size.
Yep.
It said you'll use these funds to renovate space. Will the kids in the program do that renovation?
The kids are currently working in that space to renovate it. They took it from kind of a bare skeleton, and now there are walls, and everything is moving forward with that.
Any sense or knowledge of what kind of competition you're up for this grant?
There were over 30 applicants, and we were one of, I believe, 11 school districts that got granted access. We applied for 150,000, but only got 115,000.
It says also that their space will be renovated. Will that 115,000 cover that, or will you have to access additional funds to do that, to complete that?
It's a $400,000 project. Most of that supplies and material have been donated by local business partners.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. That brings us to item F, Raleigh. Did you do that?
It is recommended that the board approve the application for the 2022-23 Digital Learning Parent and Family Support Grant in the amount of $15,000. This grant will assist with the creation and distribution of interactive tutorials for parents concerning educational technology and virtual learning. It will help parents assist their students with their learning in digital spaces and promoting higher levels of parental involvement. Shannon Quigley, Manager of Learning Technology, is available to answer questions.
Thanks, Raleigh. And actually, Eric Lorber, the Instructional Technology Coordinator, is here in Shannon's place. So, is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Eric?
Is this a new grant? Is this something that we've received before?
Brand new.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when it says that it'll support, provide tutorials for parents, is this like parents who have students enrolled in the virtual academy or just across the board, all of our families?
Across the board, we're looking to purchase a subscription to a tool called IORAD, which is used to create video tutorials that'll show you exactly where to click. It shows an overlay of text on the screen that's generated while you're creating it. And that text can be translated using Google Translate or some other tool. So we're hoping to add that layer of accessibility for our parents that may not speak English at home and expand the scope of our supports for parents.
That's great.
So this will be an interactive learning tutorial on our websites to go to different places on there, or something different?
We're going to be bolstering the video library on the FWCS Support Ed page, which is currently available to parents with videos for the Power Teacher Pro, for Power School, Schoology, Parent Square, all that.
And you'll be able to make that multilingual. That would be nice.
Mm-hmm. Are there any plans to do any additional training in person, or is this solely going to be videos and digitally accessible?
There are plans to do things in person. We just need to wrap our heads around the logistics of who to fund and how to incentivize parents to come outside of normal school hours.
Sure. Great.
So this is going to be navigation assistance for parents trying to figure out where all of this stuff is that we put on the web.
It'll be some platform navigation and some how-tos for certain tools that we frequently use as teachers to ensure that they can assist their littles at home.
In more than one language?
I believe that the software will do the text-to-speech only in English, but there will be written translation, yes.
Any other questions?
Is this a competitive grant or a non-competitive grant?
It was competitive, but I do not know how many other districts apply.
Good luck.
Great. Thank you, Eric. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're to item G. Noah.
It is recommended the board approve the purchase of a 5-year contract for replacement of the district's wide area network, also known as the WAN, from MetroNet of Evansville, Indiana, for $153,900. Our current WAN has been in place since 2003. No technology changes since then, huh, Jack or Shannon, I imagine? It connects all of our elementaries, middle, and supporting buildings with 1 gigabyte fiber, and our high schools with 2 gigabyte fiber on our district data center. The new WAN will replace the existing network with an up-to-date and more flexible computer network that will connect all 58 FWCS buildings together with 10 gigabyte fiber, along with the future growth capability to 100 gigabyte fiber at our discretion and desired time. An RFP process was conducted through Federal Universal Social Service Fund, USF portal, in conjunction with the FWCS Purchasing Department. legal requirements and procedures through Through USF discounts, FWCS is only responsible for 10% or $153,900 of the actual cost of $1.539 million. 8 vendors responded with some submitting multiple options for a total of 18 proposal submissions. 6 of the 18 proposals did not meet specifications. Funding will come from Operations Fund. Kevin Griebel actually is here, the manager of technology, to answer your questions.
Great. Thank you, Noah. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Kevin?
What will the schools see going from 1 or 2 gigabyte to 10 to start with, functionally and physically?
It's going to allow us to do quite a bit more with the network. So from summer computer preparations to online video streamings, online content as far as curriculum, it's just going to make things, the videos, flow a little easier, a little smoother. Just amplify the classroom, what we can do. So as we see other technologies come into the classroom that need internet access, we'll have that readily available.
So we'll go from 1 or 2 to 10. Is there, and you can go up to 100. Is there kind of a magic number you think right now, or is this should be totally sufficient? Or
my thinking is probably the 10 gig will be good for probably the next 5, maybe even the next 10 years, depending on what comes down the stream. But we wanted to prepare ourselves for anything beyond that.
I presume if we add to the 100 gig, it's more cost too?
Yes.
Okay.
This sounds like a big deal.
So back in 2003, this was, we originated one of the first ever built 1 gig networks. I believe that this is one also of the few 10 gig networks around northern Indiana, especially in the school districts. So this is a pretty major thing for us. It's something that we are one in the few, and hopefully it can come off as a good thing for us.
So we're receiving a pretty large discount using the Federal Universal Service Fund. Is that available every year, every so many years? Because that's a giant discount, and we're taking it from $2,600 per school. If we multiplied that out 90%, we'd be in a large number for times all of them. So what I'm asking is this Universal Service Fund available for us more than just this year, or the life of the contract?
Sure, good question. So the Universal Service Fund, we also call it E-rate funds, is a national fund that we come every December to March timeframe we apply for. It is government, so it's tied to consumers' tax on their bill. It gets brought into the federal government, and then it's dispersed out to districts and libraries as they apply. Our district, we've achieved a 90% fund rate dating back to, I believe, probably 02, 01, something like that. So we have a real good history. We've locked in with some good consultants that give us good advice. And I see this in the future, but again, it is government, so we hope they keep funding through the FCC.
Back to Steve's question a little bit, what's it physically or functionally look like to make this big change? I mean, logistically and physically?
So from where we're currently at with our 1 gig network going to the 10 gig network, it's going to be, I mean, there's a lot of build, so there's backhauls involved, there's fiber optic cable being ran around the city with MetroNet as a provider. To us, our district, we're going to swap out electronics, we're going to put in some new switches, and we're going to turn them on. So MetroNet has the heavy lifting here of building the WAN. We just kind of enable the service.
And your ETA for being done?
The ETA, we have a hard ETA of May of 24. We've been assured that we can probably start bringing sites on well before then, but May of 24 is our deadline.
Supposed to be over the next couple of years?
Yeah, 11 months.
Oh, it is 23, isn't it?
This is a question off the cuff, but do we know how long has MetroNet been around? Our past service provider is obviously Comcast, and that's a well-known name. MetroNet, how long do we know? I know I didn't ask.
I don't know. I can't answer those specifics right now. I can follow up with some information. I do know that they are well established. They are a multi-state company. They have services around the Huntington and the Manchester areas. So they have been up around the area, but it will be new to the Fort Wayne and Fort Wayne Community Schools.
I think they're more of a rural provider typically than an urban provider. But I could be wrong.
So do we know any other schools that are using this service provider for school districts?
I think Huntington and Manchester, I believe, currently use MetroNet.
Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
You, Kevin?
Yeah, thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. That takes us to item H. Steve?
It's recommended the board approve the purchase of 2,000 Lenovo 300E Chromebooks from Trofero, St. Paul, Minnesota for $598,000. The purchase of these Chromebooks represents the first purchase of the current school year, or the 2023-24 school year. The purchase is a continuation or student Chromebook deployment in our elementary schools. We were able to secure pricing 45% below the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance pricing. Indiana law does not require public bidding for purchases made at or below approved National Cooperative Purchasing entities. And we're going to get money from the Common School Fund loan. Kevin Gribble is here for additional questions about this recommendation.
Thanks, Steve. Is there a motion?
So motion.
Second.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Steve. Any questions for Kevin?
Is this comparable to how much we spent on the last round?
So we were lucky with this purchase. The per device cost is exactly the same as it was last purchase. We caught into the model before they changed models, which drove the price up about $117 a device. So we're actually able to buy a larger quantity with the same amount of money.
That's great.
Kathy, is the Common School Loan Fund, is that the one we do these? We do this annually, right? With this.
Common School Fund you do twice a year, and then the STAA, the School Technology Advancement Account, once a year. So the combination of those funds is how they replenish technology.
And those are paid off annually?
Pardon me?
Are there 12-month loans like, or 12-month?
No, they're 2-year.
Okay.
The STAA is 1 year, the CSF are 2 years.
Thank you.
And what happens to the old Chromebooks?
So right now we have no Chromebooks coming out of service. So we're still during the implementation of our K5 for Chromebooks. Some of the equipment coming out are the iPads out of the K2 environment. We're repurposing some of those. We have a lot of need for some robotics in some of the schools where we're trying to provide iPads for those. For the older generations of iPads, we're e-cycling or reselling those through purchasing. And then some of the other Windows computers that are coming out with the Chromebook implementation, we're redistributing to other schools to replace older models.
So it's my understanding that what that goes along with that question, I think I had this conversation with Jack before, that I'm like, okay, these get down to where the computer is really not worth a whole lot because we all know how technology advances, and as soon as you buy something, it's out of date. But I had asked in the past why we don't give those to our students, or why can't our students go continue? We're coming out of iPads, can they earn those? What can we do with that? But it's my understanding it's a state law that we can't do that. Is that?
Rod Rathke or maybe Kathy could answer that better. My understanding is they have to go through a public auction of some sort.
It is a state requirement that we cannot do that.
It's too bad.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
One more. Did you get feedback on why the Chromebooks for these, replacing iPads, for Chromebooks? What's the thought there? Any idea on that?
So the Chromebooks it's an easier platform for the younger ages. The iPads, we've run into some hurdles and problems with some standardized testing. And so the Chromebook just allows that easier platform. There's been smoother standardized testing, and we see a benefit. It integrates quite a bit better with our Schoology LMS. So that ease of a platform and the easeability to our littles just makes it a lot easier to use.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that takes us to item I. Julie?
It's recommended that the board approve the construction manager as constructor, CMC, for the pre-construction services contract for the following project. Renovation at Blackhawk Middle School. The construction manager is Wygan Construction Company. The pre-construction services fee is $48,500. This project consists of architectural, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical renovations to Blackhawk Middle School. The contract procurement method for these projects is the construction manager as constructor for publicly funded projects as allowable per Indiana code. The recommendation includes the design services contract based on a percentage of construction value, as well as a fixed fee for contractor pre-construction services. An additional recommendation will be presented at a later date with the establishment of a final guaranteed maximum price for the project. The project will be funded from the 2020 School Building Basic Renewal Restoration and Safety Project referendum bond. And Darren Hess, Director of Facilities, is available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Julie. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move for approval.
Second.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Darren?
I got one. I know we're early stages, but it says architectural, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical. Does architectural mean like changing the physical structure somewhat, or?
Somewhat. So to meet the programming, like they have a mass media focus, so we're going to be creating a better studio for that. The architectural, more the finishes. Carpeting.
Secure vestibule?
Secure vestibule, relocating the office. Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a current timeline for this project?
We are looking to bid it at the end of next summer with construction starting spring of 2024 and then finishing fall of 2025.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thanks, Darren. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jennifer.
Build, Low, Grow ADA Improvements Project. It is recommended that the board approve the following construction contract for the Build, Learn, Grow ADA Improvements Project. There's a base bid of $328,380 for a total contract of $462,530. This is flooring replacement at Adams, room 106 and 106A, ADA improvements at Northcrest, ADA improvements at Holland, ADA improvements at Brentwood. This project consists of the renovation of preschool restrooms in 8 elementary schools to be ADA compliant. This recommendation is within the program budget and is funded from the combination of the Build, Learn, Grow grant and the operations fund, which is identified in the capital projects plan. Project specifications require the work to be complete by August 1st, 2023. We had 2 contract bidders, CME Corporation, and it looks like it was awarded to Schenkel Construction. Darren is here again to answer any of our questions.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Is there a motion?
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Darren about this project? Okay. Darren, you're off the hook. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, item K, Ann.
It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of 2,700 classroom teacher chairs for all FWCS schools from Sealy Office Solutions located in Fort Wayne for $874,476. This purchase will provide new ergonomically designed chairs for all teachers. The new chairs will replace old and worn teacher chairs, and we saw pictures, that are at the end of their useful life. Any existing teacher chairs that are still in decent and usable condition will be reallocated within each building to replace other staff chairs that are no longer in suitable condition. Chairs that are not being reallocated will be recycled or possibly auctioned. The price includes delivery, installation after regular school hours to each classroom, and removal and recycling of the old chairs that are not being reallocated or auctioned. Delivery to the schools will begin in March on a building-by-building basis until all chairs have been delivered. FWCS was able to secure pricing that is 6.4% below Omnia National Purchasing Cooperative pricing. Indiana law does not require public bidding for purchases made at or below pricing from approved cooperative purchasing entities. Funding will come from the Operations Fund, and Darren is available to answer questions.
Great, thanks, Ann. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Raleigh. Any questions for Darren?
So this will be only to the teachers, say Chad Hitsong was here earlier, the principals won't get those, and the good teacher chairs may funnel to him if it's, or the better.
Yeah, even with the 2,700, it still won't replace all of the existing chairs in the classrooms, because especially in the elementaries, if you can imagine, there's a reading area and they have a separate area where their desks, so there's different stations, so.
But will at least each teacher get one new chair?
Yes.
Okay. And will they have like a catalog to select from 3 to 5 chairs, or does everybody's getting the same thing?
They get a selection of one that we provide them, yes.
Well, looking at those pictures, I'm sure that one's going to be better than what some of those we're dealing with, so hopefully they're excited about this.
And Darren, do we have like a replacement plan for these chairs?
We haven't. That's why we are slugging the funds this year out of the CPP to get us to at least a point where they have an ergonomically correct chair. And from there, we'll have to see how they wear to come up with a future plan.
Okay, great. Do they have an estimated life expectancy for the new chairs that we're purchasing?
Alex, do you know?
There's a 12-year warranty.
There's a 12-year warranty, so that's about usually 11 years or 13 years, I guess.
Right, okay.
So it
Good.
says the project's going to start in March. Do they think they'll be done by August 23, or?
Yes, the intent is to try to get it done before the summer crazy.
Good. Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That would be me. It is recommended that the board approve the following construction contract for the electric physical plant improvements PPI project. The contract goes to Jace Electric with a base bid and total contract of $446,780. The project consists of new interior and exterior lighting and lighting controls in 7 buildings and a generator replacement at the Anthus Career Academy. Primary Engineering, Inc. designed the project. The project is funded from the Operations Fund, which is identified in the Capital Projects Plan. This recommendation is within the project budget. Project specifications require that the work be completed by July 28, 2023. There were 2 bids that came in, with Jace Electric being the lower bid, and Darren is here to answer any questions that we may have. Is there a motion on the floor to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And Noah, thank you. Any questions for Darren about this project?
Jace's Electric is a new name to me, Darren. Are they local?
Yeah, they've been in the Fort Wayne market and worked with us the past 20, probably 21, 22 years in a row.
Guess I haven't been paying attention.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Thanks,
Aye.
Darren. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Raleigh, item M.
It is recommended that the board approve the following construction contract for GBS improvements at BLC Anthus Center. The contract was awarded to Schenkel Construction, Inc. Base bid is $289,800. 4 alternates were approved that include pre-K office and restroom renovation, communicating door replacements, cafe student restroom renovation, classroom 36 painting, for a total contract amount of $345,925. The project consists of the renovation of classroom 36, renovation of the former cafe into culinary arts classroom space, pre-K suite renovations, and partial door and hardware replacements. Kelty Tappy Design Inc. designed the project. The project is funded from a combination of the Operations Fund, which is identified in the Capital Projects Plan, and the Build, Learn, Grow grant. This recommendation is within the program budget. Project specifications require the work to be completed by July 28, 2023. And Darren is here for questions.
Thanks, Raleigh. Sorry. I was thinking of questions in my head. Is there a motion on?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Darren?
So this is being done at Antis. Do our Antis kids work alongside Schenkel in this case on some of these type of projects or any other vendor like that?
You know, most of this work will be completed over the summer. And quite frankly, Jesse and Chris Robertson, the other instructors now, they keep them quite busy. They always turn away work, but whenever we have anything that, like for example, this past week they had a hot water heater go out, and so we're working with them to have the kids replace it. So we take advantage whenever we can.
Darren, what is the general condition of Anthus? It's one of our oldest buildings.
It's a little tired, but for the most part, it's got good bones. With the ESSER dollars, with the HVAC system replacement the next 2 years, that's going to really help out. The building itself, you know, probably within the next 15 years, you know, 12 to 15 years, we need to do a full renovation.
And just as we've talked about this now, the second or third Antis project, Kathy, I was just wondering, do we share, how many school districts take advantage of Antis, other than Fort Wayne Community Schools? Jesse left.
I'm thinking high schools, over 20 high schools.
Do they share in this type of cost on this, or it's
No.
all run through us, so we all, and it's part of our property and plant?
Right.
Do we get to adjust the per student revenue rate then at all, based on these kind of things, or no?
On construction? Or
Well, just what a student, you shared with me once how we charge the student to go there, like even at Fort Wayne Community Schools.
Yeah. Mhm.
Do we get to adjust based on all these?
This is not included, but things like utilities and other maintenance costs that occur at the facility do get counted in the tuition costs, but not capital construction costs like this.
So we can't even charge a rent fee like to Southwest Allen County, let's say?
No, we do come up with a rental fee that we charge to everybody. Yeah.
Okay, which
Yeah.
then in theory then should cover some of this time.
Yeah, in theory.
Maybe not always, but.
But this would be, you know, have a much longer life than, so it would, you know, you
Okay.
wouldn't just charge it all at one time.
Thank you.
Darren, this says that you're going to convert some of the cafe space into classroom space. Do you know, is that going to increase the capacity for that culinary program?
I don't believe so. It just gives them more flexibility for the baking portion of the classroom. It gives them an extra lab.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Darren. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I forget to vote. Any opposed? Okay. All right. We're to item N. No?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, the General Building Systems 2. It's recommended the board approve the following construction contract for GBS 2 General Building Systems 2 door replacements. Shawnee Construction and Engineering is the recommended bidder, and they have a base bid and then 7 alternative bids, and 2 of the 7 were accepted, so the total bid amount or contract amount is $381,725. The project consists of numerous door frame and hardware replacements to meet ADA requirements throughout various buildings. Kelly Tappy Design Inc. designed the project. The project is funded from a combination of Operations Fund, which is identified in the Capital Projects Plan, and Build, Learn, Grow grant. This recommendation is within the program budget. Project specifications require the work to be completed by July 28, 2023, or this summer. Darren's here to answer questions. There's a demonstration of the 3 bids with Shawnee being the winner.
Thanks, Noah. Is there a motion?
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. Questions for Darren about this project?
Why were those other 5 not accepted? Any idea on the bids, on the alternates? By us or by them, sorry?
We did not have enough funds to cover those, so
So those needs remain?
2024 CPP.
So that's going to various other schools other than those are listed in the alternative. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Well, I'm not seeing where exactly the $381,000 doors are going. I see the ones that are not accepted, and then the 2 alternatives are the Maplewood and Franke Park.
Yeah, I don't have that list in front of me, but when we go through our GBS project, a lot of the PPI projects will do 1/3 of our schools at a time every 3 years. So we're looking at, roughly 18 schools that have various replacements in them. And these were listed as alternates because there were large numbers at a single school, so we could combine them in one. But it's going to be over those 18 schools in those 2 areas.
That answers my question. So there's about 18 schools that are getting the doors. Okay, thank you.
And I should have asked this earlier. What is the Build, Learn, Grow grant, and where does that come from? What's the source of that?
It was a federal grant that we were approved for, and we can only spend it on the Title I preschool rooms. And some of it with this will be the doors to the preschool restroom.
So it's Title I and only preschool?
Yes.
Okay. Not just Title I in general?
Correct. But it also, like we talked about the restroom ADA when we previously approved, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but the special ed preschool classrooms we couldn't use Build and Grow grant for. So that's why we used a combination of some of the capital projects, because it didn't make sense to make 2 non-ADA classrooms or ADA accessible and then leave the one that is for our special needs students not accessible.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Darren. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Steve?
Yes.
Thank you.
It is recommended the board approve the following construction contracts for masonry repairs in the current school year, and you see the detail identified under the proposals for Atlas Building Service and Hagerman. Atlas came in at $304,879 and Hagerman at $294,463. The project includes masonry restoration and repairs at various locations. Martin Riley Architects and Engineers designed the projects. They're funded from the 2016 School Building Basic Renewal, Restoration, and Safety Project funds. The recommendation is within the program budget. Project specifications require the work to be complete by August 6th of this year. And then you have the additional bid proposals from the 4 bidders: Atlas, Buckeye, Hagerman, and Quality Masonry. And then there's additional information on page 2 of the 2 projects. So again, Atlas, Building Services, and Hagerman on these projects.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Noah.
Second.
Thanks, Raleigh. Any questions for Darren on this project? You guys aren't as interested in bricks?
The one question I do have is, there's several on here with Northrop, so we just did a lot of construction to that. Did we damage our masonry?
No, we purposely keep these packages separate than the main renovation package because it's, after everyone's out of the building, then we clean it up.
Okay.
So that's the reason for it.
Thank you.
I know that I probably get flack for asking this, but where is Jack E. Weicker Stadium?
Southside High School.
Probably would probably answer that, I wouldn't.
I knew I'd get something. Somebody would. Okay. Thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, that leaves P, plumbing. Julie?
It's recommended that the board approve the following construction contract for plumbing, physical, plant improvement projects, 2023. Say that real fast, 5 times. So the contract is with Current Mechanical. The base bid is $550,000. There are 3 alternates for a total contract of $728,000. The project consists of partial plumbing fixture and distribution replacements in 8 buildings. Primary Engineering designed the project. The project is funded from a combination of the Operations Fund, which is identified in the Capital Projects Plan, and the Build, Learn, Grow grant. This recommendation is within the program budget. Project specifications require the work to be completed by July 28, 2023. Darren is still here, and there are the 2 bidders with Current Mechanical being the lowest.
Great. Thanks, Julie. Is there a motion?
I move for approval.
Thanks. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Ann. Any questions for Darren on the plumbing project?
So I take it the Build, Learn, Grow grant will not cover the south side and Northwood remodel part?
It just covers that one alternate at Maplewood. We're replacing the fixtures in the restroom. The rest
And
of
then
it's
it
on
says,
CPP.
okay, 8 buildings, is that the base bid or does that include the 3?
That includes the, well, it's the summary of the 3 alternates and the base bid, 8 different buildings.
So 5 within the base bid?
I believe so, yeah.
I guess I thought it was after we did the prior one. How many Title I preschools do we have, I guess? You know?
Is it 18?
14, I think. So 18? 14.
I thought it was 18, because we have 18 different sites we've done playgrounds with.
18.
18, we'll go with?
I believe so.
Okay. And so we've been, or tonight we're addressing about 8 of them?
Probably 11, I think, with all the different packages.
Okay.
But we've completed work at all. I believe it's 18 of them. We've done work through that grant at every single one of them.
Is that a competitive grant?
Yeah, it was a competitive grant.
The Build, Learn, Grow?
And we had 2 rounds of funding, and by the time they got to the 3rd round, they ran out of funds.
There's actually 24.
24, okay.
Yeah, there's some pre-K that are at like the same building. Like I think it's Glenwood, for example. There's not enough room in the building, but there's at Northcrest. So 18 sites maybe.
Okay. That's all I got. Sorry. Thank you.
No, you're fine. Any other question? Thanks, Darren. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And that leaves Jennifer, item Q.
It is recommended that the board approve the acceptance of the Indiana Department of Homeland Security 2023 Secured School Safety Grant for $100,000. The Secured School Safety Grant was created in 2013 to increase the safety of Hoosier schools. The program is a dedicated state grant fund that provides matching grants to school corporations, charter schools, or a coalition of school corporations. These funds will be used to support the continuation of school resource officers at Fort Wayne Community Schools. Questions will be addressed by Michael Manuel.
Thanks, Jennifer. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Raleigh. Any questions for Mike?
Can you remind us how many resource officers we have currently in what building?
Currently, excuse me, good evening. Currently, we have 9 SROs in our buildings, but this grant supports 7 of those 9 SROs.
And are they still all in middle schools?
Yes, the ones that this grant supports is all in middle schools. We have one, when you talk about the 9, we have 1 SRO in Wayne High School.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, man. I feel like we should stretch. Okay. So we do have a presentation tonight to provide strategic direction and accountability. FWCS engaged in a process led by StratOp starting in the 21-22 school year. Jason Baker from StratOp, along with Chief Systems Officer Jack Bird and Technology Coordinator Rachel Moyer, will provide an overview of the current status of the FWCS strategic plan.
Sorry, guys.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to take 5 seconds and say something I think matters. I'm fortunate to lead a 50-year-old consulting firm out of Denver, Colorado. We have clients all over North America. I have one alma mater and one hometown, and it's really awesome to be able to be here and serve this group. So I'm honored to be here. Any healthy strategic operating system that we establish with anyone has, I'm going to talk about 3 foundational elements. One is are you talking about the vision? I got it, okay. Why we're here, where we're headed, and what our ground rules are. Otherwise, set our mission, our vision, and our culture. So you'll see the mission. I think we had that approved last year, if I believe it. But we went through an exercise just to make sure we firmly established that. We're going to continue to build equity in it, but we exist to educate all students to high standards, enabling them to become productive, responsible citizens. In our space, we encourage organizations to lever that as the first filter they make every decision through. Every utilization of $1 or an hour of our time has to allow us to be that. Culture. So I think it's one of the most foundational exercises we do with organizations, but how do we actually establish the desired culture? Culture is going to exist no matter what. It's either the one we allow or the one we want. In June of last year, the board approved those core values. Core values operationalized are, in fact, our culture. And you'll see the student success, preparing all students for college or career, shared responsibility, enhanced partnerships to benefit our students and community, change agent, empowering healthy improvement, accountability, owning the outcome, diversity, equity, inclusion, knocking the fence down, transparent communication, open and honest always, and wellness, prioritizing mental and physical well-being. Those are the core tenets of the culture that we desire to exist in Fort Wayne Community Schools. So as you hear the term culture over and over again, there will be a group of people driving to make those things come to life. It should be the way we think, live, and relate to the world around us. And then the last thing I think I'm supposed to talk about is our vision. Vision for us is where we're headed. And so we updated the date on that, but technically vision done well. It's time bound. Let me confirm exactly what we just updated. Let me recall that from our last session. It is end of school year 27. We want to be able to observably, with data, demonstrate that that is in fact true, that we are a school system of choice, and there's metrics we want to be able to support that, and we'll talk about that, or Jack will talk about that. We're a source of community pride, we're an employer of choice, and we are propelling our students to success after high school. Also around the employer of choice, like none of that, we want to be able to claim and demonstrate that we're actually one that our staff actually would recommend and draw people to. So that's what success should look like, painted in a simple picture for the district. That's what the system that we've installed is driving towards. I'm going to let you talk about the measurables. All right.
Thanks, Jason. So to support our mission and to accomplish our vision, what Jason just talked about, we set forth 4 major goals. The first is to achieve and maintain academic excellence. The second is to engage students, families, and the community. The third is to operate effectively with integrity and fiscal responsibility. And the fourth is to attract, develop, reward, and retain high-performing staff. The Achieve and Maintain Academic Excellence goal concentrates on providing our students quality instruction that is engaging, relevant, and beneficial. Academic does not just include what is traditionally viewed as the core subjects, reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also includes the well-being of students. Helping students to better understand their thoughts and emotions are important concepts that we must teach our students if they are to be ready to learn and function in their world. Therefore, we will focus our academic efforts on literacy, numeracy, and well-being. Initiatives to transform learning, such as our new literacy and numeracy adoptions, obviously have their goal as their focus. However, our Code of Conduct, Early Childhood Learning, and School Within a School projects also focus on this goal by creating an educational environment that addresses the whole child. Perhaps the most transformative initiative involves partnering with students, parents, and community members to create our Portrait of a Graduate. Guided by Ford NGL, we are creating educational experiences for our students that will let them explore and prepare for careers. As Dr. Faye Robbins says, we must prepare our students for the Monday after graduation. Enroll, enlist, or employ are the options we want our students to be able to pursue. The Portrait of a Graduate initiative will ensure students have the opportunity to work with local businesses in solving real-world problems while at the same time learning the skills necessary for the career of their choice. This year, for example, through the Junior Achievement 3DE program, Northside and Snyder students have worked with companies like Steel Dynamics and Parkview to learn soft skills and problem-solving techniques. This will be expanded to the other 3 FWCS high schools this next school year. The Kelly Career Pathway Initiative also contributes directly to the Portrait of a Graduate efforts by providing middle school students the opportunity to explore different careers by participating in hands-on activities. We will be piloting this project starting in March with 2 of our middle schools. The Engaged Students, Families, and Community goal centers on transparently communicating and partnering with our stakeholders. As just stated, students, parents, and community members are working with the district to develop the Portrait of a Graduate. However, we also want to market more effectively by showcasing student achievements and district successes. Additionally, this goal addresses providing timely and accurate information to students and parents, keeping them abreast of current status and developments. The Operate Effectively with Integrity and Fiscal Responsibility goal focuses on ensuring our operations are efficient, accurate, and ethical. Projects including on-demand professional learning, or HCMU, transportation student management, nutrition management, and payroll HR administration systems are currently underway to help transform our operations. Finally, the Attract, Develop, Reward, and Retain High-Performing Staff's goal, its main purpose is to foster a staff culture that makes FWCS a place where employees find equity, purpose, and a sense of belonging. The core values that Jason covered are the beginnings of this important initiative. This project will continue with the implementation of the core values. To ensure we are on track in accomplishing our goals, the following metrics will be used as our scorecard. For the Achieve and Maintain Academic Excellence, we will look at literacy growth, numeracy growth, attendance rate, first period tardy rate, percent of freshmen on track for graduation, percent of students with a graduation plan, and percent of students with no behavior or serious events. For the engaged students, families, and the community, We'll be looking at the percent of families met directly and personally, the number of meaningful convening groups that contribute to our mission, the student enrollment, and percent of employees feeling that there is a positive culture at FWCS. They operate effectively with integrity and fiscal responsibility. The metrics for this will be the percent of AIPs on schedule. And in a second, Rachel Moyer is going to talk about what an AIP is. The percent of buses on time, and the percent of the percent of teacher salaries that are paid out of the education fund. And finally, our attract, develop, reward, and retain high-performing staff. We'll be looking at the staff constancy rate, the staff attendance rate, and the number of professional learning hours. Action Initiative Plans, or ARPs, are the project plans created to help define and monitor the effort of the different initiatives. Rachel Moyer, Technology Coordinator, will now provide an overview of the process.
Good evening. As Jack shared, Action Initiative Plans, or AIPs, are project plans that are created to define and monitor the various initiatives in Fort Wayne Community Schools. This process enables us to track them in one system. Currently, there are 23 AIPs. All 23 AIPs will fall under one of the following categories: transformative learning, transformative operations, or systems of, standard operating procedures. Sorry about that. Every initiative must tie back to the district's mission and goals. Every AIP will have a project leader and a team that will develop and support the key deliverables or the project deliverables. Our AIPs will have multiple deliverables that are the various action items in it are assigned to different teams. Every deliverable will have a series of action steps that are assigned to a different team member who is in charge of being responsible for that work and ensuring they hit the target date. Our goal is to make sure the 23 AIPs are focused and accountable, and we report back to the district.
Questions, or Dr. Daniel?
I appreciate the level of detail we're seeing this evening. We had a chance to take a look at this prior to the start of this meeting. So I'm a parent in the district, or I'm a parent that is just family that has just moved to town, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to live in the county. Will this information be available to them?
The scorecard information is going to be used by the board. What we will release to the public is the report card that we talked about at our last session.
Is that going to be simpler to understand, that it won't be overwhelming to somebody who says, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start here?
Yes, the report card will have fewer metrics. They will still be tied to the goals, but there will be fewer metrics, and probably metrics that the public understands, like I learn and those types of things.
And when will that report card be released for the community?
The report card will be released most likely at the end of the school year, but we have to wait till we get final like assessment information from the state, and sometimes that can take some time depending on their schedule.
Jack, I think you recently mentioned you've been here since 1997, is that right?
No, I started mining data in 1997. I've been here since 1984.
Oh, geez, I thought you were younger than that.
Thank you.
As long as Steve's been on the board, huh?
No, he still has me beat.
Okay. I guess my ultimate question is, you said recently, I felt like this hasn't been looked at this way in a long time, or in your tenure mining data. Is that accurate?
We have internally looked at data as far as, interdepartmental. We have not engaged with the board at this level of providing a scorecard that provides you the the direction and the progress that we're making. So this will be a first time for us.
And then as that relates to sharing that with the community as well, right? Is that different than what has been done in the past, I guess?
We have shared parts of the report card. So here again, we're talking about a report card as opposed to a scorecard. Board is the scorecard, the public's the report card. So we have shared, you know, like our iLearn proficiency. We've shared iRead, but this will be a place where we share multiple. And you know what? I think I'm looking for Krista. I mean, we might have provided a report card before, now that I think of it.
Okay. Ultimately, my question, I guess, is you were a parent of the district and now you're a grandparent of the district. How would this help you as a community member help decide whether or not to send your kid to Fort Wayne Community Schools, or decide whether we as a board or the district as a whole is doing a good job?
Well, I think here again, with these metrics, number one, the board now can monitor our progress towards our goals, but then also with the standardized report card that we will send out, it should show parents that this is a good place. And you're right, I'm not only a student of FWCS, I'm a parent of FWCS and soon to be grandparent of FWCS, trying to, you know, I got my granddaughter in the lottery, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And the stuff we're looking to do and relate to and share with the community, in your experience, would help you as a parent or grandparent say, hey, look, they're doing what they're saying they're doing a great job at Fort Wayne Community Schools.
Correct.
Or maybe we're not up to snuff and we got to do better, those kind of things.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Any other questions for Jack?
Hey, Jack, for the people that might be listening to this, so the state is going to require, we'll have a dashboard for every school, right?
That is
Corporation,
correct.
School?
There is a dashboard that the state has released that has the corporation, and then it has a dashboard for each school.
Okay, and that is available now?
It is.
Okay, so when you go to our website, will you see both the state dashboard and our own report card? Is there overlap between the two? I mean,
There will be overlap, but there are metrics that we might choose to show that the state does not.
okay, gotcha.
Other questions? Well, we just want to say thank you so much to Jack and Rachel and Jason for coming to share this with us. Jason, it's always nice to have an alum of the district back in town. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, if you can believe it, we have gotten through our agenda and our reports. And so we're ready for board comments, and I'm actually going to go out of order and start the comments. So some of you may have seen this in the news. I know that we did a press release this morning, but we are ready to share with the public what our schedule will be for the 23-24 school year. So middle school and high schools will be in session from 7:20 a.m. to 2:25 p.m. and elementary schools will meet in session from 8:50 to 3:30 p.m. So the change, if we have people that are just tuning in and needed some background information, the reason that we changed the time of school starting or went to a two-tier schedule is to allow more time after school for high school students to work, obtain internships, and participate in co-curricular activities after school, and improving transportation schedule to ensure that students arrive to school on time every day. The critical thing there was the 90 minutes in between the tiers in the morning. As a lot of the community members know, we do have some special programs, field trips. I know when I was in elementary school, field trips were always the thing to look forward to. But transportation has had some difficulties in getting students to school, then returning and picking up students for field trips, getting students to the Career Academy or AMP Lab, and then getting our elementary school students to school on time. So hopefully these changes will help transportation be able to offer more services to our students and families. Under the new schedule, Tolles Intermediate School will follow the first tier, so Tolles will be 720 to 225, and Bunch Montessori will follow the second tier, which will be 850 to 330. So the hours for our half-day programs, including pre-K and the Career Academy and AMP Lab, have not yet been determined. I just want to say thank you to not only our district staff and our transportation director, Charles Kamick, the superintendent. We held 5 in-person meetings. We live streamed one, and we also did a virtual meeting. We received hundreds of comments through Let's Talk. And so we just want you to know that we did review all the comments, and we are all in this together. So if anyone has any concerns, I know a lot of people think that this was already predetermined before we even started the meetings, but just know that all of those comments were taken into consideration when we were making these decisions. And I want the community to know that we're ready to come alongside our families and work with you. So if you do have concerns after the announcement of these times, we do encourage you to get a hold of the transportation department. We will try to, I know that I raised some concerns in terms of, yes, we've made this announcement, but how does this affect my family directly? And so we are going to put out sort of a very preliminary, your student goes to school at this time, and this will be their bus route with no time. So we do have, as Jack mentioned, some pretty sophisticated software that we're going to, after our families let us know that they do need transportation, that we're going to run some simulations, and then as we get closer to the school year, then we'll be able to give you approximate times and locations as we, work out all of the details. So again, thank you. I know several of the board members went to these sessions. Thank you, parents. Again, thank you to our staff. I know you guys spent hours at these community sessions. So again, thank you. And we're looking forward to improving the transportation for our district and hopefully getting everyone to school on time and safely. So that is my comment for this evening. And Steve, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Well, this was a long meeting, but I think it was a great example of what the administration and the board does in maintaining this district to high standards. I'm looking at a report from the Boston Globe newspaper this evening, and the title is Boston Teachers Union is calling for audit amid payroll debacle that is shortchanging thousands of teachers. Boston Public Schools has yet to pay thousands of teachers and other educators millions of dollars in pay increases for the last school year and most of this fall. That's a headline you're not going to see in the Journal-Gazette. You heard this evening the Board of Finance presentation and how we maintain fiscal integrity and achieving one of our goals that Jack Bird talked about. And we heard presentations on how we're going to repair our school buildings and keep them up to standards and beyond. You heard about grants that we're receiving to support student achievement and the purchase of new Chromebooks, new computers. This is a big district. We're a large employer, and we have to make darn sure that we're doing a good job. We're maintaining the confidence of our legislators and our parents with what we do every day. 27,000 kids and 4,000 employees, wow, that's a lot. And I so appreciate the work that Jack and Jason and Rachel have been undertaking in holding people accountable and considering creative ways to break the mold in moving the district forward. Pace of change is so different than 5 years ago, let alone 10, and we've got to stay on top of it. So I salute each and every person that works for this district, from the superintendent to the classroom teacher to the people who maintain our buildings. It's a lot of work, and we're serious about making sure that we stay at the top of the heap in the state of Indiana, if not the country. So congratulations on what we're doing and what we hope to do over the next 12 months.
I just want to say that, you know, those of us on the board and staff, we know what a big deal it is to change transportation. Some of us were here when we did that about, what was that, about 8 years ago? But we have listened and given a lot of opportunity for input, and staff and has spent a lot of time on it. And we would not make this change unless we felt it was best for students and best for the district. And like Maria said, once transportation has a chance to understand who all, what students next year want transportation, and preliminary routes have been run. The mantra that we have heard from the transportation department is, we will work with you. So once you've got that information, once parents and families have that preliminary information, contact transportation if you have an issue, because they are willing to do that. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Steve, for covering a lot of things that I was going to say, so thank you very much. Kind of went down the list of all the things that we've been doing. What I want you to understand most about what Steve mentioned and everything that we heard tonight, because it is a long board meeting, is the word transparency. You heard a lot of information here, and a lot of money, and a lot of details, things that you can look up, things that you could call upon our district leaders and ask further questions if you had further questions, like we often do. And I think that that's super important as we move forward into the state of Indiana of where our education system sits, and know that everyone that is working on this is doing their very best to represent fiscal responsibility, and that you also can see that and you can look that up. So as our state continues to want to offer vouchers and further voucher expansion, our public schools are super important to our community. It's what keeps our community strong. We have almost 30,000 students in this area that attend public schools, or in Fort Wayne Community Schools, plus the other districts, those additional districts that are public schools. And that's what's helping keep our community strong. We need the funding. You heard where we're at with things. You see the ADM, you see the report that Kathy gave to us. And it's important for you to acknowledge and note that with every voucher that is given to a private entity, it's taking money away from our kids. We want to give our kids the best that we can, and we do our best to do that every day by managing our funding, but it gets harder and harder. So I ask you to, one call to action I have for you tonight is for you to pay attention to our legislative issue. If you're watching tonight, pay attention to the bills that are coming. And what you can do is advocate for your kids and our students in our community by listening. If there's a call to action out there by one of us, we're doing that for your child and for all the children that go to public schools, which is over 90% of Indiana students. So that for me is, this meeting tonight kind of solidified how important it is for us to be transparent and for you to see where we're spending those dollars. The second call to action real quick I'll have is on the transportation. I just wanted to thank everyone, as everybody has mentioned, but I also wanted to thank our community partners who also shared a lot of feedback, and that included Y-Care and preschools and everybody that we had to take into account of making a huge change like this. Change is not easy. Not everybody's going to be happy all the time. We do our best to support for the whole. But what you can do to help us and to help you is when transportation tells you we need to know if your child needs transportation, please, please answer. I think it'll be in enrollment, early enrollment. We do early enrollment online. Anytime that you see that the transportation is asking you, please, please, that will help get our routes faster, quicker. You know where your child's being picked up, and also we'll see some issues and problems where we have some gaps. And that's where our transportation can help you. So please just answer that call a little bit earlier. And thank you all for tuning in. I know it's been a long night, but thank you for waiting this long.
All right. I would like to thank Renee and everybody else who was involved in the transportation discussion and all the time and effort they put into that. And I think Renee did a really great job of explaining why we need that 90 minutes in between the high school and middle school and elementary routes. So if there's probably something on Facebook or YouTube where she talked about that. So go back and listen to that, why it's important to have that 90 minutes, not only to get your students to school on time and safely, but also what that can open up for additional transportation that we haven't had in the past. But I think she did a really great job of explaining that, so I wanted to thank her for that. I also want to talk about my other favorite volunteer opportunity, which is our Lunch Mentors program. Not sure exactly what I'm called, but the program has grown from 4 mentors to 32 now. So that's like, you know, and that's just from this fall. So that's a giant leap. But of course, we can always use more volunteers. I go to Lakeside Middle School, and my lunch child had to go to the bathroom, so I walked her down the hall, and we saw a bulletin board that had all the Anthus options programs there, and then the little QR code that you could get on your phone and see what they were all about. So my lunch kid doesn't have a phone, so she said, hey, let's look at one of those on your phone. So when we came back from the restroom, she picked out what career she wanted to do, and we did the QR code, and it comes up and shows a little video on YouTube, and where the I don't know what they're called, teacher of that program talks about the program and what it entails. And it was just a really neat thing for us to do as lunch buddies. But I just thought it was a great way to get in middle school excited about our Anthus career program opportunities. So I thought that was a really nice bulletin board to have for our kids. So thank you for putting that up there. So I just wanted to share that. And of course, if you want to be involved in the program, contact Jessica Hanna in Fortin Community Schools to get hooked up with your own lunch buddy. Pretty much any grade level. So it's a great way just to spend 30 minutes with a kid, very flexible. I had to change mine this past week from Tuesday to Thursday, which is not a problem. It's a great opportunity to establish a relationship with a young person.
Thanks, Ann. Raleigh?
So tonight we announced a significant change that will impact a lot of people. Some people won't like it, and some people I'm sure will. I just want to let everyone know that I'm confident in saying that everything that we do as this board and as a district is for our kids, for our students and our families, and in turn our community. Things are changing. Workforce is changing. Funding is changing. Policies are changing. This is one change that that we'll work through, and it's just my hope that even though change is difficult, this is one that will hopefully just benefit. The challenges will outweigh the the benefits will outweigh the challenges of this change, so.
I'll add on to a little bit what Jennifer said and agree with most of what everybody said about the funding. As all the items were mentioned about the reason for this change, a key element is funding. We don't have the funding that we used to have, and we don't have the funding that neighboring states have. Indiana, if you pay attention, is woefully behind our neighboring states on funding education. So that's a call to action, I think, in dovetail with Jennifer's. We're trying to do the best with the resources we're given. That's part of our responsibility, and that's part of this change. The other thing I'll say is that this is the first biggest decision I would say I've had to make or consider for 2 years on the board. But being semi-new to the board, one of the things I did not like as a community member really was Let's Talk. I didn't think it was effective. I didn't think it was valuable, and I really just didn't care for it. And I want to say to those 200 and some odd people watching, it was up to 700, it is an effective tool. It is appreciated to use, and please use it. The district provided us with 449 comments from Let's Talk. I don't know that all of them were responded to, but some of them were. We each had the opportunity to read each and every 449 comment. I would acknowledge I didn't read all 449, but I think I read probably at least 250, and it was very good information for me to consider because it brought about questions that I hadn't thought about, like I grew up and went to Snyder. I live by Snyder. Glenwood Lane and Snyder are right there in a pocket. Why not have all the one bus deliver all kids to those that pocket of schools? Well, I thought that makes sense, and I asked the question, and I got the feedback. Well, we had considered that, and here's the reason why. Because Snyder, Glenwood Lane have that, maybe north of Shawnee and Lincoln, but we don't have that throughout the district. And we could create maybe tiers, not by hours in, but by school zones. So we might have kids at Snyder going at 7 and Wayne going at 9 because we don't have that. So again, I guess my encouragement or call to action, as Jennifer has mentioned tonight, is the other part I'll say is we, at least I'll say for me, and I believe my fellow board members do value your opinion and input. And this administration, I believe, may not always love it, but we're challenging them to value your input and mindfulness. So please communicate with us. Please use Let's Talk. It's a greater effective tool than I ever would have dreamed, not saying in this seat, but we do listen and we do want to pay attention, and we might not ever make everybody happy, but we do value the input and we do want to consider it. Thank you.
Dr. Danny?
Let me first start off with what we're doing in the Strat-Op arena. I've been in several other districts, and I'll say this is the first time I've truly felt as if we're making headway with accountability, with implementation. And I want to thank Jason Baker for bringing that to Fort Wayne Community Schools. Also for Jack and his follow through and Rachel's follow through as well. I think we have a team that is truly moving us in a direction we want to move, and it's all based on continuous improvement. So again, I do appreciate the board as well, and your support of that particular movement, as well as the direction we're heading. In regards to transportation, everything that's been said, I can't say it anymore. I would like to add a couple things. We did talk about drop-off times. That is a consideration for parents. Excuse me. So, drop-off for secondary people. Primarily, we're looking at 7 a.m. for secondary bus drop-off. 7 a.m. doors open, no later than. Elementary, that would be 8:30 for the bus drop-off and doors open, which led to an interesting conversation with our transportation director. What do we do to have parents or work with parents that are struggling to drop off students and get to work? And this is the first time I've heard this. Well, where is a bus stop that maybe you could wait there for the buses and you would be on the first ladder, per se, of getting students on buses to get to school? I thought that was very creative. Those are the types of out-of-the-box thinking we're talking about and moving forward. But you have to talk to us. You have to do what Noah Smith just said. You have to get you have to communicate. So that has to get to either transportation office themselves or through Let's Talk. We'll direct that. So I also want to thank Charles Kamick for leading this process with transportation. Again, we were wanting to have sufficient time for parents, community partners, schools to prepare. So with this, it begins August 10th. That's when our students return next fall. So it gives us the following months from today forward. There will be consistent communication coming out to you. There's a communication plan that Krista Stockman and her team have generated and are creating, and that is reminding you of, yes, this is happening. Yes, these are things we're trying to move forward as quickly as possible. One thing in particular, when we have our online registration, last year you may have remembered, you could skip the transportation question. That will not be part of the process this year. You will have to answer the transportation question. Are you in need or are you not? That will allow us to create a schedule as quickly as possible. So then there will be even a shorter time, we hope, in regards to making adjustments and getting a final schedule to you as parents and students. So many things coming to play here. And as we see our district continuing to move forward, I have to stop and say, just this last week ago, last Tuesday, we had over 200 plus community members consisting of teachers, administrators, parents, students, community members, community leaders saying, we want to take this district to another level. And that level being, how do we deliver on the things we've been discussing tonight? How do we truly have students that are prepared for the day after high school or the Monday after high school graduation, truly prepared, ready to move into those three areas discussed: employment, enlistment, or they're continuing to enroll in their post-secondary world to be successful. So I think we're very much on track. I think we have community support in that arena. All these things we've talked about tonight are working together to make it happen. And believe me, we are breaking down barriers and we're breaking down silos to where even with our own organization within Fort Wayne Community Schools, how do we do a better job of that as well? So again, I want to thank everyone for this work, for where we're heading, and it's a journey. And with every journey, you have some detours along the way, but we'll get there. And I think we'll be better for it as a district. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that is the end of our meeting. Sorry, it's real long. Our next meeting will be Monday, February 13th. Is there a...
Move we adjourn, Madam President.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good evening. Oh, yes.